Jai Osho. Welcome to all for the 11th and the last episode in the English discourse of The White Lotus by Osho. Like in the previous discourses, here too, Osho elaborate the quick short answers given by Bodhidharma to the questions of his disciples. The first question, what is right and what is wrong? The second question, what is a sagacious student and what is a dull student? Friends, welcome again to listen to the discourse to know and understand the answers given by Bodhidharma and its elaboration by Osho.
Osho, the White Lotus, talks on the Zen master Bodhidharma, given at the Osho Commune International, Pune, India. Discourse number 11.
Bhagwan. Question. What is right and what is wrong? Answer. Discrimination with no mind is right. Discrimination with no mind is right. Discrimination with mind is wrong. When one transcends right and wrong, he is truly right. In a sutra it says, when one dwells on the right road, he does not discriminate, this is right, right road. He does not discriminate, this is right, this is wrong. Question. What is a sagacious student and what is a dull student? Answer. A sagacious student does not depend on his teacher's word, but uses his own experience to find the truth. A dull student depends on coming to a gradual understanding through the teacher's word. A teacher has two kinds of students. One hears his teacher's words without clinging to the material, attaching to form or to non-form, without thinking of animate objects or of inanimate objects. This is the sagacious student. The other, who is avid for understanding, accumulates meanings and mixes good and bad, is the dull student, understands instantly. He does not raise inferior mind when he hears the teaching, nor does he follow the sage's mind. He transcends both wisdom and ignorance. Even though one hears the teaching and does not cling to worldly desires, does not love Buddha or the true path, if when he has to select one out of the two, he selects quietness from confusion, wisdom from ignorance, inactivity from activity, and clings to one or the other of these, then he is a dull student. If one transcends, then he is a dull student. If one transcends both wisdom and ignorance, has no greed for the teaching, does not live in right recollectedness, does not raise right thinking, and does not have aspirations to be a Pratyeka-Buddha or a Bodhisattva, and does not have aspirations to be a Pratyeka-Buddha or a Bodhisattva, then he is a sagacious student.
One of the most puzzling, confusing mystery of life, talking to those who are not Buddhas yet. It is almost like talking to a man who is fast asleep. Yes, if you shout loud enough, something of your words may penetrate the slumber of the sleeper. may even reach to his mind, although they will have to pass through many, many dreams, disfigured. They will not be the same. And the meaning that the sleeper is going to give to those words is going to be his own. But there is no other way. But there is no other way. There are only three possibilities. The sleeping one talking to another who is also asleep. That is the first possibility. Also asleep. That is the first possibility. That's what goes on happening all over the world. Sleepers talking to other sleepers. Somnambulists trying to communicate with other somnambulists. Somnambulists trying to communicate with other somnambulists. Only great conflict arises out of it, much noise. A tale told by an idiot, full of fury and noise, signifying nothing. Yes, exactly that's what happens. The whole world is a chaos. Because people go on saying things, not knowing what they are, who can't hear, who are not in a state to hear it. And we go on interpreting according to our own prejudices. We go on imposing our meanings. Others function only as screens, and we project our own films on them. I have heard an ancient story that once a great emperor, a Chakravartin, decided that if even for a single minute the whole world stops all kinds of noises, some incredible experience. But how to convince people to stop for one moment, totally? The whole world stops for one moment. No talking. It was not feasible. He inquired his wise men. They said that seems to be impossible task. How we can manage? How we will guard? Talking, making noise. Millions of people. Your army is big. But compared to the people, your army is nothing. Then a mystic rose and said to the king, I can manage it. I know the secret. He whispered into the ears of the king the secret. And the secret worked. The secret was very strange, as are the worked. The secret was very strange, as are the ways of the mystics, always very strange. On the surface, they look something. Deep down, they are something else. Something. Deep down, they are something else. Maybe exactly the opposite of what they appear on the surface. The mystic told to the king that you make an announcement that on a particular day at 12 o'clock in the midday, the whole world has to shout together for 1 minute. The sound, the whole world has to shout it. Nobody is allowed not to shout. Everybody has to participate. The king said, "What are you talking about? I want the world to fall into absolute peace for 1 moment." The mystic said, "I know people. You just fall, and what you want will happen." And it really happened. The king declared, the day was fixed, and people were eagerly waiting for that moment. The whole world shouting "Who" for 1 minute. Thing. Extraordinary. Everybody thought that I am not going to shout, I will listen. Why miss such an opportunity? The king himself wants to listen. Why should I miss the opportunity? And who can find out when the whole world is shouting "Who"? Who can find out that I have not been a participant? Who can find out that I have not been a participant? And that's how everybody thought. At exactly 12 o'clock, for 1 minute, there was absolute silence. Not even a single noise. Not even a single noise. The mystic managed. And the king was transformed by the silence. It was so deep. Its music, its exquisite grace. It became the beginning of his own meditation. If just the outside noise stops for 1 minute, it gives silence. What will happen when your inside mind stops making noise? It was a turning point in the life of the emperor. But ordinarily, the world is continuously. The people who make much more noise than others are thought to be leaders, politicians. They are thought to be great men. You will be thought great by newspapers and later on by historians only if you have a nuisance value. If you can create trouble, if you can create trouble like Adolf Hitler or Joseph Stalin or Mao Zedong, then you will be thought a great leader. If you can create trouble like great leaders, if you can create trouble like Ayatollah Khomeini, then you will be thought to be a great saint. Your value depends how much nuisance you can create in the world. Everybody wants to be somebody. Hence everybody has to pretend to shout loudly. Everybody has to prove himself. Amongst this madness, amongst these insane people, one who has become awakened, he has to convey the message. It is a miracle that once in a while somebody is capable of listening. The first possibility is sleepers talking to other sleepers. They talk much, they talk nonsense. Obviously, they can't. Sleeping persons, they can only make absurd noises. There can be no possibility of any communication. Hence, in the world there is no communication. The husband shouts and nobody understands anybody else. The world lacks understanding absolutely, totally. Understanding is nil. People somehow go on dragging themselves. They become adjusted to each other. But it is not understanding. It is just out of continuous failure, despair, disappointment that they make, because everybody has to live and few arrangements are needed to live. The second possibility is two Buddhas talking. Then communion is possible. But two Buddhas never talk. Sleepers talk too much. Communication is not possible. Two Buddhas can commune with each other, but they never talk. Two Buddhas can commune with each other, but they never talk. They can't talk. There is nothing to talk. They both are at the same peak. They both are seeing the same sunset. They both are in the same ecstasy. What is there to talk? Whatsoever you say, the other knows it already. Whatsoever the other will say, you know it already. You know it already. Yes, sometimes it happened in the past. Buddhas have met. Once Kabir and Farid, two Buddhas met. And for 2 days sat in absolute silence. Not when they departed, their disciples asked, "What happened? What went wrong? Why didn't you say a single word?" They both said to their disciples, "It had been a wastage of breath. What I know, the other knows. Neither I am anymore, nor he is anymore. We are both part of one reality. Ever we experience the same joy. And we know it is inexpressible anyway. Hence, we sat in silence. Silence was our communion. And then the third possibility is a Buddha talking to one who is asleep, or someone who is asleep, or someone who is asleep talking to a Buddha. Someone who is asleep can ask only questions. That is what is happening in this beautiful dialogue between a disciple and Bodhidharma. Someone who is not awake can only ask questions. Of any answer. His whole life is full of questions. Just as leaves grow on trees, questions grow in your sleepiness, in your unconsciousness. And the Buddha can answer. He knows nothing of questions. He is the answer. He has arrived home. The first is meaningless. The third is impossible. Puzzling because the Buddha speaks from his peaks, and the sleeper listens in his sleep, in his dreams, desires, lost into the dark sunlit peaks. He has no idea of the purity of those altitudes. He lives in the polluted world. He knows words. He is unaware of the real true meaning of the words, but he knows nothing of love. He knows the word prayer, but he has never experienced it. And without experiencing it, you cannot know it. He knows the word, just a husk with nothing inside it. But he knows nothing of God. The word he goes on repeating. And the problem is love. He means something totally different than what you mean when you use the word love. Those meanings don't meet. They don't crisscross anywhere. They go on running like parallel lines, meeting nowhere. Running like parallel lines, meeting nowhere. And yet you can think you have understood, because the word is the same. Yet you can go on believing that you have come to, that you have come to a great understanding. That understanding is only intellectual. To understand a Buddha intellectually is not to understand him at all. He has to be understood not to understand him at all. He has to be understood existentially. And the disciple has not to be only a questioner, closer to the master. The question is a wall. He has to drop all questioning. He has to start merging, melting into the being of the master, so that he can see through his heart, can have a little experience of the beyond, of the transcendental. This is the last dialogue between the disciple, the unknown Dharma. The first question, what is right and what is wrong? You all have been told what is right and what is wrong. Yes, Christians will say one thing, Mohammedans another, Jainas is still something else. Hindus have their own ideas of right and wrong, and Confucians and Zoroastrians and their Confucians and Zoroastrians, and there are so many ideologies in the world. And they all have their own ideas of what is right and what is wrong. And you have been told, because you were born in a certain family, in a certain conditioning. From the very beginning, you have been conditioned. You have been conditioned. So you all carry some idea, clearly or unclearly, consciously or unconsciously, what is right and what is wrong. And still you don't know what is right and what is. You have not discovered it on your own. You have been told. And these are such deep experiences that nobody else can decide them for you. You will have to grope in the dark to find out a window from where you can look at the open sky. You will have to seek and search a door from where you can have an insight of what is right and what is wrong. Listen to people. They are asleep. What they are saying is not their own. Their parents had said those things to them. Their parents, and so on and so forth. What they are telling to you is only repetition. They are functioning like gramophone records. They repeat because they know nothing else. And they are not courageous enough to say to you that we don't know. It needs guts to announce your ignorance. It needs the courage of a Socrates to say that I know nothing. But it is very difficult to find a father like Socrates. It is very difficult to find a man like Buddha or Jesus to teach you in your schools, in your churches. It is impossible because these people cannot be confined into schools and churches. These people have known. These people have known. But the first step towards knowing is knowing that I am ignorant. Then you are ready, open, vulnerable. Then you are ready, open, vulnerable. Then something can happen to you. Then truth can reveal itself to you. But you are so full of rubbish. You all think that you know. You all think that you know. This is the first thing to be dropped. Your parents, your teachers, your priests know nothing. And out of their ignorance and out of their pretentious knowledge, false teaching you. They say one thing, you will understand another. You will say one thing to your children and they will understand another. That's how truth becomes a lie. When Buddha utters something, it is coming from the very, very source of life and existence. But the moment he utters this, which is going to destroy the truth, the hearer will hear it in his own way. Then he will say to somebody else, now 25 centuries have passed. And in 25 centuries, how many generations? And in 25 centuries, how many generations have passed? And each generation has been giving its so-called knowledge to the other generation. Now if Buddha comes back, he will really have a belly laughter. Buddha comes back, he will really have a belly laughter. He will not be able to believe that these are my words. If Bodhidharma comes back, he will be surprised. He will be surprised. He will be utterly dumb for a moment. Are these my words? Because my feeling, reading these questions honestly, this, that the disciple, although he is trying to be very true to the Master's words, is still editing. Because the words don't have, and that was a basic quality of Bodhidharma. They look too mild from his mouth. They look almost dull. They don't have source. He was one of the strangest Buddhas who has ever happened on the earth. These words seems to be so mild, so soft. There are only two possibilities. Either he was very ill, dying, and was not able to shout, but the second possibility is more closer to the truth. The second possibility is that the disciple is writing in his own words what Bodhidharma has said. These are his disciples' notes. Bodhidharma has not written them. These are his disciples' notes. Bodhidharma has not written them. He has not written a single word. The disciple must be editing. Of course, he has tried to be very, will go against Bodhidharma. But he may have deleted few things which we can never be certain. Looking at his questions, he does not seem to be of a great intelligence. Jones said, the science professor, would you care to tell the class what happens when a body is immersed in water? Sure, said Miss Jones. The telephone rings. An experienced prostitute tells a younger beginner that the moment to ask men for money is when their eyes go glassy. The next day she asked the beginner how she made out. Rotten, she says. When their eyes go glassy, I go stone blind. People function from their state of being, from their understanding. And what understanding they have got? None at all. None at all. scene. An army induction center. The new recruits are lined up by the tough sergeant and told to count off into groups of 4. They count off briskly. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A1, yodeling number 1, and looks him up and down in revulsion. Are you 1? Of course I am 1. Are you 1 too? The moment a word reaches, it changes its color. It becomes part of your gestalt. It immediately starts representing you, not the speaker, but you. Beware. And the only way to get rid of this, and one needs to get rid of this if one is really a seeker of truth. The only way to get rid of this is to drop all ideas that empty your mind of all concepts of right and wrong. Be again a child, knowing nothing, collecting seashells on the seashore. Enchanted by small things, a colored stone. Be as innocent as a child. You don't know what is right and you don't know what is wrong. Possibility to know. The student asks, what is right and what is wrong? Religions have their own predetermined ideas. This is right and this is wrong. And what is right in one religion is wrong in another. There are 300 religions on the earth and at least 3,000 sect religions on the earth. And at least 3,000 sects of those religions. It is not coincidental that there are exactly 3,000 languages also on the earth. Maybe there is some interrelationship. These 3,000 sects may be just 3,000 religious languages. And each religion has its own definition of right and wrong, and that never suits with another religion. Meat is wrong. But Mohammedans, Christians, Jews won't agree with it. Their scriptures say God created animals to be eaten by human beings. Jainas say that to fast is the best way to purify your soul. Now there are religions which will not agree, because how fasting can purify your soul? Maybe it can purify your body of its toxins, poisons, but how can it purify you of its toxins, poisons? But how can it purify your soul? what food has to do with the soul. They seem to be absolutely unrelated. Jainas say to live without any possessions, to live absolutely naked, is the only way to attain moksha, ultimate freedom. Now no other religion will agree with it. Because what nudity has to do with moksha? All animals are nude. That has nothing spirituality. And for centuries man has been nude. The primitive man lived in nudity, but they were not all attaining to liberation. How you can attain to liberation by just being nude? So on and so forth. The ideas of right and wrong are very sectarian. What Bodhidharma answers is a non-sectarian approach. Discrimination with no mind is right. A very strange statement, a paradoxical statement. Because discrimination is always of the mind. It is the mind which discriminates. This is right and this is wrong. Dharma is making a tremendously pregnant statement. He says discrimination with no mind is right. And he is really very close to the point, as close as language can reach. Without any mind, when you function out of pure awareness, whatsoever you do is right. That's what he calls discrimination with no mind is right. Not that you decide to do right, not to do the wrong. When there is no mind in you, no prejudice, no ideology, no thoughts, a pure silence. Out of that silence, there is spontaneous act. Out of that silence, the response to reality, moment to moment, that is right. Look at the beautiful definition of right. It has nothing to do with the act. It has something to do with consciousness. With the act. It has something to do with consciousness. All the Buddhas try to change the emphasis from the outer to the inner. From action to consciousness. From action to consciousness. Even from conscience to consciousness. Because conscience is extrovert. It is created by the society. You have a Hindu conscience or a Mohammedan conscience by the society. You have a Hindu conscience or a Mohammedan conscience or a Christian conscience. But consciousness is simply consciousness, neither Hindu, nor Christian, nor Mohammedan. Consciousness, mirror-like phenomenon, reflecting that which is, and out of that reflection the act, the total act, that is right. See the emphasis. The emphasis is not on the act, what to do and what not to do. But it is not a question of doing this or not doing that. Because one thing may be right in one moment of consciousness and may not be right in another moment. In one situation, in one context, in a certain space, one act may be right. Space, another context, the same act may be wrong. So acts can't be decisive. It all depends on your consciousness and the situation that is encountered by you. Between you and the situation, the decision is going to happen. And the decision has not to be deliberately taken according to certain ideology. Deliberately taken according to certain ideology, according to certain conclusions, according to certain prejudices, concepts. The decision has to arise in the purity of consciousness. It has to arise in the purity of consciousness, in the state of no mind. Then it is right. If it is not coming out of no mind, then it is wrong. This is a very significant opening. It can open doors and doors and doors of mysteries. Do this, don't do that. Bodhidharma is not saying you, don't do this, don't do that. Because who knows, tomorrow the same act may be needed. Situations change. Life is right today, may not be right tomorrow. Hence acts cannot be fixed. And that's what all so-called religions have done. People even ask me that I should decide what is right and what is wrong for my disciples, for my sannyas to decide what is right and what is wrong. I am simply helping you to create the pure consciousness. So out of that consciousness, whenever you lose that purity, that height, that flight of consciousness, and start crawling in the darkness of the earth, then all that you do is wrong. It is possible that a thing which is thought by the society to be right, but he cannot do it. According to Bodhidharma and according to me, the society may respect him for doing right, but we cannot say that he is doing right. Because just to do it, the very foundation is missing. His action may appear on the surface to be right, but his intention cannot be right. And it is intention that is decisive. He may donate money to the poor. And of course, everybody will say that this is right. Donating money to the poor, who will say is not right? But Bodhidharma will say, if he is sharing out of joy, not out of an egoistic attitude, only then it is right. If he is sharing, not pitying the poor, if he is sharing for the joy of sharing itself, not obliging the poor, then it is right. But if there is obliging the poor, if there is a hidden intention, to gain something in the other world, some virtue, to get an entry into paradise. If he is doing something like that, seems to be good, but it is not good. It is wrong, because it is out of a wrong consciousness. It is arising out of a wrong context. It can't be right. There are millions serving poor people for wrong reasons. Their reason to serve the poor people is because this is the way to attain to heaven. This is greed. This is not service. This is greed. This is not service. And on the surface, they are good people, nice people, very helpful people, in every possible way. In every possible way, doing good works. But deep down, their desire is nothing but a great greed, a projected greed towards the other world. They are so greedy, more greedy than the ordinary people. Because the ordinary people are money, a good house, a garden, a car, this and that, a little prestige, power, becoming a prime minister or a president, and they are perfectly happy, satisfied. But these people are not satisfied with such small things, mundane these things. They want eternal peace. They want eternal bliss. They want eternal company with God. And there is going to be great competition, because God must be surrounded by a great crowd of saints. God. In fact, this is what Jesus' disciples asked him. The last night when he departed from his disciples, this was the question uppermost in their minds. I always feel sorry for Jesus. He was not so fortunate as Buddha, as Mahavira, as Laos, as far as disciples are concerned. He had a very poor lot concerned. He had a very poor lot. Jesus is going to be crucified tomorrow. He has told them that this is the last night and he will be caught. He has predicted and he will be caught. He has predicted it. And do you know what they are asking? They are not concerned about Jesus' crucifixion, how to protect him, how to save him, or what can be done now. They are done now. They are not worried about that. They ask him, Lord, tomorrow you are leaving us. Just one question. Before you go, let it be settled. Of course we know you will be on, but who will be next to you? Who amongst us will be the blessed one to be next to you? This is pure greed. More ugly than the ordinary politics. Because the ordinary politics is grass and you can see it immediately when it is there. But this type of politics is very subtle and very difficult to see. If service is your response out of no mind. Don't desire anything out of it. Do it for the sheer joy of doing it. To create here. You are all involved in all kinds of works in this commune. And this is only a beginning. Just the seed of the commune. Soon it will grow in a big tree. Foundation is being laid. You are all working. But it is not service for some greed. You are not here to attain anything in the other. How to enjoy each moment. For its own sake. The joy has to be intrinsic. Just the other day, Gyan Bhakti has made a silver box for me to keep Jintan. And she came crying, tears of joy, that she has been able to do something for me. To do something for me. Nothing to be gained. I cannot promise her that Gyan Bhakti, you will be exactly on the right side of me in heaven. In heaven. There is no heaven. And there is no God as such as a person. Even I am not going to be on his right side. And basically I am a leftist. I don't believe in the right side at all. Right side is the because right side represents the left side mind, which is reason, mathematics, calculation. Left hand represents poetry, love, music, sculpture. But there is no God and there is no right and left to God. There is no other. This very body, the Buddha, this very earth, the Lotus paradise, and this very moment is all eternity. All eternity. Live out of no mind, then whatsoever happens is right. And live out of the mind, then whatsoever you do is wrong. Whatsoever you do is wrong. Hence, I am not in favor of people like Mother Teresa of Calcutta. Not at all. Knowing nothing of meditation. Knowing nothing of meditation. She is a good woman, doing hard work, but deep down is greed. Without meditation, you cannot get rid of greed. Yes, servicing orphans, widows, poor people, ill people, old people, lepers. Anybody will say this is good, except it is good only apparently. But deep down, It is greed. And sometimes I wonder if lepers disappear through scientific comes and poor people are no more there. And if biochemistry can find out ways so that people remain always young and never become old, then what will happen to people like Mother Teresa? They will be at a loss. They will not find anybody who needs their service. Who needs their service. They will be in difficulty. They need these people. It is their need. These people are needed for them to be great servants. For them to be great servants. Hence, religious people, the so-called religious people, want the world to continue in poverty. Because if the world continues to be in poverty, they have something to serve. They want people to remain ill, starved. Now science has enough technology, won't allow it. Because their whole business will evaporate. If science makes this earth almost like a paradise, I will be still needed. In fact, I will be needed more. Because when people have nothing to do, then the world of meditation begins. Because meditation is the art of simply being, doing nothing. The spring comes and the grass grows by itself. If the world is really happy, joyous, rich, affluent, then people like Bodhidharma and me will be needed more. If the world lives in luxury, then millions of Buddhas can bloom. But it is difficult to understand it. It is easy to understand Mother Teresa and the Nobel Prize that has been given to her. Gurdjieff was not given a Nobel Prize, nor Maharishi Raman. Krishnamurti has been doing his whole life only one thing: how to make people more aware and conscious. Nobody has ever thought of giving a Nobel Prize to him. Because their work is subtle, invisible. Real work is always of the roots. You can't see them. And just ordinary people like Mother Teresa will be awarded Nobel Prizes. I don't think that Buddha will get a Nobel Prize if he comes. Or Bodhidharma. Impossible. Our whole idea of right and wrong is so superficial that we cannot see into the very essence of what is good and what is not good. Bodhidharma is giving you the essential core. Discrimination with no mind is right. Discrimination with mind is wrong. Right and wrong, he is truly right. See the point, meditate over it. When one transcends right and wrong, when one has no idea what is right and what is wrong, because those ideas are always in the mind. When you have no idea what is right and what is wrong, when you are utterly innocent, then one is right, truly right. To be innocent, silent, contentless, just Bodhidharma says, is truly right. In a sutra it says, when one dwells on the right road, he does not discriminate. One simply lives out of his consciousness, right or wrong. Who cares? One simply follows one's spontaneity. One flows with it without any worry whether it is right or wrong. Only wrong, right and wrong. Right people never worry about anything. They simply live their life. They live their life without any imposition. They live their life without any morality, immorality. They live their life without any characterless freedom. In a sutra it says, when one dwells on the right road, he does not discriminate. This is right, this is wrong. He never thinks what is right and what is wrong. He simply goes on joyously, ecstatically. And then whatsoever he touches is transformed into gold. Dust becomes divine in his hands. And in the hands of your so-called saints, even gold turns into... In the hands of your so-called saints and Mahatmas, nectar becomes poison. The second question: what is a sagacious student and what is a dull student? Bodhidharma says, a sagacious student does not depend on his teacher's words, but uses his own experience to find the truth. A very fundamental criterion. A very fundamental criterion. The really intelligent disciple does not depend on his teacher's words. He listens to words. He listens to his teacher's words. But more than words, he listens to his being. More than his words, he listens to his silence. More than his words, he observes his gestures. More than words, he looks into his eyes. More than words, he watches how he walks. Than words, he watches how he walks, how he sits, how he talks, how sometimes he remains silent. His approach is not intellectual. His approach is not intellectual. His approach is existential. And because he does not depend on his teacher's words, He uses his own experience to find the truth. Own experience to find the truth. The masters have always been saying that you have to find the truth on your own. Be a light. Nobody can give you the truth. Truth is not a transferable property. It is not some possession that you can inherit. You have to discover it. Everybody has to discover. That is the difference between scientific truth and religious truth. Scientific truth is discovered by one person and then it becomes the property of the whole world. Albert Einstein discovered the theory of relativity. To work it out, once discovered, it is the property of the whole humanity. Now anybody can understand it. Anybody can read about it. There is no problem about it. Scientific truth, once discovered, everybody can see it. And everybody can understand it. Just a little intelligence is needed. A little effort is needed. But you need not rediscover it. That is the difference with religious truth. You cannot put it in front of others. So when a man becomes a Buddha, only he knows what has happened. Or other Buddhas know what has happened. But it never becomes can watch it. You who are in deep love with me, you know what has happened to me. But you cannot prove it to others. It is not an object phenomenon. If you try to prove, you will need to disprove it. It is impossible to prove it. You cannot prove that Christ has attained. Thousands of books have been written. Thousands of books have been written, but nothing has been proved yet. For 2000 years, more books have been written on Christ than on anybody else. But what has been proved? There are people who is... But what has been proved? There are people who still think that he was insane. There are still psychologists who think that he was neurotic, psychotic, schizophrenic, schizophrenic. And they think so very seriously, and they have many arguments why it is so. He used to hear voices which only insane people hear. He used to talk to the sky which only mad people do. And he was a megalomaniac, according to these great scholars, psychologists. Suffered from a very puffed up ego. He declared that I am the only son of God. Now what pretentiousness! That I have come to save the whole humanity. What ego! And this man talks about humbleness, humility, and goes on saying, blessed meek, for they shall inherit the earth. And he was not the meek man at all. So the people who want to prove that he is schizophrenic have enough proof. One day he says, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. One day he says, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. And another day, he enters into the temple of Jerusalem, beats the money changers, throws them out of the temple. The money changers throws them out of the temple. Can you think this man is a meek man? He talks about humbleness, humility, poverty of the spirit, and declares that I am the king of the Jews, that I am the real king, that this man has many minds, split minds. Talks about forgiveness, says that God is love, and becomes so angry with people. He became so angry with a fig tree because his disciples were hungry, he was hungry, and there were no fruits on the tree. Now this man is insane. In any way, willfully preventing the fruits not to grow at this time. It was not the time for the fruits. They have come with great expectation close to the tree, and there was expectation close to the tree, and there was no fruit. Jesus takes it as an insult. The Son of God comes, and what kind of fig tree is this? No respect. No respect. He goes into a rage. He curses the tree. The tree burns because of his curse. Because of his curse. A green tree turns into a dead tree immediately. Now what kind of man is this? Must be mad. Can you think him as a Buddha? Will be difficult to prove. 2000 years of scholarship has not been able to prove. But because the experience of Christ consciousness is very inner. It is so deep and so interior that only he knows what is happening inside him. Ye are those who are crowned with the same glory, who have attained to the same samadhi, to same consciousness. They will be able to understand. But how many are those people in the world? Mahavira looks mad. Because he lives naked. Not only that, he pulls his hair out. He does not go to the barber because he wants to be absolutely independent. Now what ego? You can immediately translate it as a very egoistic attitude. He does not want to depend on anybody else. He wants to be absolutely independent. It is better to pull your hairs. Independent. It is better to pull your hairs. Although it hurts. But he will not go to the barber. Can't he keep a razor, a scissor with him? Because he can't possess anything. He does not possess anything. He lives without possessions. To possess something is to be ordinary. So he lives without possessions. Now the only thing left is to pull your hair. And he does not take a bath. So sooner or later, lice will be there in the hairs. And they will become dirty. Why he does not take a bath? Seems to be really insane. He does not take a bath because he thinks there is no need to decorate the body. He does not take the bath because he thinks water has very, very small living cells in it. They will be killed. And they will be killed. And he does not want to do harm to anybody at all. Not even those small cells. Water consists of many, many bacteria, cells, living organisms. Living organisms. So not to disturb them, not to destroy them. He will not take a bath. And there is a certain kind of insane person whose characteristic is that he pulls his hairs. Sometimes women do when they are really in rage. They pull their hairs. But this man continuously does it. He seems to be permanently mad. You can easily prove that Mahavira is mad. Very difficult to prove that he has attained, because that is his inner experience. Somebody else who has gone so deep, who has dived so deep into his being, may be able to see the point, but even he cannot prove. Truth, you know it only when you know it. Nobody can give it to you. Bodhidharma says, a sagacious student does not depend on his teacher's words, but uses his own experience to find the truth. The voluptuous brunette dreamed that a tall, dark, handsome man appeared at her bedside, pulled the covers off. Then he drove to a secluded spot in the country, threw her into the back seat and leered at her. "What are you going to do now?" she asked in a quivering voice. "How should I know?" he answered. "It is your dream." That you hear from the masters are not the master's words. They are your words. It is your dream. You can interpret, you can accumulate, you can become very knowledgeable, but it is all your dream. Never for a moment forget that. And you are asleep. and you are split. And you are split. And you are subjectively unconscious. You are in a real mess. It is a miracle how you go on keeping yourself together. How you go on keeping yourself together. Why you don't start falling here and there in parts. You must be using imported glue. Because Indian glue can't do that. It is impossible. A taxi passenger was being buffeted to the right and to the left as his driver carried breakneck speed. When the gentleman was granted an instant to catch his breath, he finally complained to the driver, "You ain't got no cause to worry," said the man. "I ain't going to land back in no hospital now." After 18 months, only partially reassured, the rider grumbled, "How dreadful! You must have been seriously wounded." "Nope, never got a scratch," grinned the cabbie. "I was a mental case." I have heard a same type of a story. One aeroplane takes off. And as it starts rising higher, from the cockpit, a great laughter is heard. The passengers become a little worried. What is the matter? What is the matter? So one passenger opens the door of the cockpit and asks the pilot, who is just almost rolling, laughing. He asks, "What is the matter?" Laughing. He asked, "What is the matter? What is so funny?" He said, "I have just escaped from the mental asylum. And now they cannot find me." You can think of the passengers what must have happened to them. But whether one is really a confirmed insane person or not makes not much difference. All are insane. Unless you become a Buddha, you are insane. And whatsoever you go on understanding through the words, it's not the words of the Master. They are your own interpretations, heard in your insanity. The real intelligent disciple is not interested in words. He is interested in actions. He is interested in self-actualization. He uses the time with the Master to rise higher and higher in consciousness. His effort is not of that becoming more knowledgeable. His effort is that becoming more knowledgeable. His effort is that of becoming more conscious, more authentic. He tries to attain more being than more knowledge. Attain more being than more knowledge. The stupid student acquires knowledge, and the intelligent student acquires being. And it is being that can save you, not knowledge. A dull is that can save you, not knowledge. A dull student depends on coming to a gradual understanding through the teacher's word. Real. It is a quantum leap. It is discontinuous with your past. The old simply disappears and the new appears. The gradual understanding is not understanding but only accumulation of information. Buddhahood, enlightenment is sudden. It is never gradual. His authenticity, His sincerity, His love for you, His compassion is going to create great impressions on you. It is going to create an impact on you. Slowly those words will start gathering inside you. Gradually you will start feeling that now you understand a little more. But what is happening really is you believe now a little more. Not that you... A master speaks with authority. Not the authority of the scriptures. Not the authority of the tradition, but the authority of his own experience. Because he is a witness to his own words. What he says, he knows. What he says, he has seen. Hence the impact. But the impact can be in two ways. Either you accumulate those words full of authority, and then you become knowledgeable. But to be knowledgeable is only to be a believer, not a knower. And no belief is ever going to liberate you. It binds you. And no belief is really trust. It is not faith. It is fake. Belief is fake. Belief is fake. Faith. The farmer's son entered the kitchen where the table had been set for dinner. The farmer already seated asked him, Son, did you remember to close the door on the chicken house this evening? You remember what happened the last time? A fox got in there, don't you? Yes, father, I know. The door is closed, replied the boy. Several minutes passed, coat on. Walking out the door, he suddenly turned and remarked, It is not that I don't believe you, son. I just want to be sure. But what is the difference between these two? He says, it is not that I don't believe you, son. You can believe in the words of the masters, but how you are going to be sure? Unless you experience, there is no surety. There is no certainty. Doubt, it will sabotage all your beliefs. Then the time wasted with the master is really wasted. Otherwise, each moment with the master can be of tremendous value. Don't gather words. That is the sign of the stupid student. Enquire into your being. Learn from the Master how to be Learn from the Master how to be thirsty for the self. Learn from the Master how to go on the great adventure of self-discovery. Accept his challenge. Accept his challenge, but not only his words. A dull student depends on coming to a gradual understanding through the teacher's words. A teacher has two kinds of students. One hears his teacher's words without clinging to the material, not to the immaterial, without uttering of animate objects or of inanimate objects. This is the sagacious student. He simply listens to the Master's words as you listen to the wind passing through the pine trees. Are you listen to the songs of the birds in the morning? You simply listen with no greed to accumulate, with no greed at all. You don't bring your mind in. You don't interfere. You don't try to make any sense out of it. What sense is there when the wind passes through the pine trees? Through the pine trees, and you hear the music. What sense is there? When it is raining and you hear the sound on your roof, what sense is there? Yes, there is tremendous beauty, but no sense. It is a great experience. It's a great experience, but there is no ordinary meaning attached to it. And what meaning you can give to it? You will project your door. And if you are waiting for your girlfriend or your boyfriend, you may think maybe she has come. You run to the door, you open the door, and you are frustrated. It was only the wind blowing. You projected an idea. A respectable old man heard that his only son had started visiting brothels. One evening, the old gentleman got word that the boy was in houses of ill repute, and eager to get him back into the sanctity of his home before the family name was irretrievably ruined, he dashed down town to find him. Charging along at full steam, distracted and angry, he was accosted by a lady of the evening popping out of her doorway. "Hi, Pop," she caroled pleasantly. "Are you looking for a naughty little girl?" Unthinkingly he replied, "No, I am looking for a naughty little boy." He replied, "No, I am looking for a naughty little boy." The girl recoiled in horror and exclaimed, "You nasty old man! What meaning you are going to give to words? You don't know anything. You don't know anything of the inner. All meanings will be false. Listen. without giving any meaning. Just listen and it becomes a meditation. Just listen and it becomes a meditation. Right now, if you are just listening with no idea of yours coming continuously in between me and you, if you have put your mind aside, if there is a direct contact and I am not being taken by you via the mind, if the connection is direct, then something far more valuable than words can ever contain, will be imparted to you. It is like a magnetic field in which suddenly your heart starts dancing. It is a magnetic field to be with the Master, in which you start moving closer and closer, not deliberately, but spontaneously. The other, the understanding, accumulates meanings and mixes good and bad, is the dull student. One who is greedy to have more and more knowledge is bound. What the Master says is good, right, because it comes from no mind. And what the student hears is bad, wrong, because he hears through the mind. Then both get mixed up. And you become a hodgepodge. Rather than becoming more integrated, you become more split, more of a chaos. Rather than attaining to a higher order of being, you start falling. You start falling into more and more a disorderly state. The sagacious student understands instantly. Remember the difference. Remember the difference. The stupid thinks that he will understand gradually. A little bit today, and then tomorrow, and then day after tomorrow. But the really intelligent disciple understands immediately. When the mind is not interfering, there is no question of time coming in. Mind is time. Let me remind you again. If you bring mind in, gradualness. If the mind is not there, where is time? Then I am here, you are here. And there is only present. Then this now joins me with you. Then this now becomes a dance. Then this here becomes a song. The now and the here are the only true. Time, and because now time is eternity and space is infinity. The intelligent person understands immediately. Nor does he allow the sage's mind. Such a beautiful statement. Bodhidharma says, I am not saying to you that drop your stupid mind. I am not saying to you that drop your inferior mind. He is his mind. The sage's mind, drop that too. Because mind can never be wise. It can pretend. It can deceive. There is nothing like a sage's mind. The sinner has a bad mind. The saint has a good mind. The sage has no mind. That is the difference between these three words. He does not allow any kind of mind. He transcends both wisdom and ignorance. See the point. See it immediately. Because there is no mind, you cannot be ignorant. Because there is no mind, not be ignorant. Because there is no mind, how you can be wise? You have gone beyond the duality. Ignorance gone, wisdom gone. You simply are. Just like a rose flower is. Just like a rose flower is. The rock is. You are. Even though one hears the teaching and does not cling to worldly desires, does not love Buddha or the true path, when he has to select one out of two, he selects quietness from confusion, wisdom from ignorance, inactivity from activity, and clings to one or the other of these, then he is a dull student. Between wisdom and ignorance, if you choose between inactivity and activity, if you choose at all between right and wrong, you are a dull student. Choice makes you dull. Krishnamurti repeats again, is ultimate freedom. Don't choose and be free. Choose and you have chosen your bondage. Choose and you are imprisoned immediately. Each choice is a prison. Sannyas is dropping of all choices. It is simply a gesture of dropping all choices, likes and dislikes. It is moving beyond duality. It is moving beyond duality. If one transcends both wisdom and ignorance, has no greed for the teaching, does not live in right recollectedness, does not raise right recollectedness, does not raise right thinking, and does not have aspirations to be a Pratyeka-Buddha nor Bodhisattva, then he is a sagacious student. When there is no choice, no greed, not even for the right mindfulness, that is Buddha, no greed, not even for the right mindfulness, that is Buddha's basic teaching, sammasati, right mindfulness. Even for that, in the ultimate state of intelligence, there is no choice. The desire to be a Buddha or to be a Bodhisattva. No desire for nirvana. No desire for God. Desire as such has disappeared. Any desire. Tremendous is his richness. There are people who have much but still desire for more. And there are people who don't have much and still don't desire for anything more. Their richness is beyond measure. Desires has come home. He has become a Chakravartin. He has conquered the world without conquering anything at all. It is his. All inexhaustible treasures are his. The only secret key is choiceless awareness. These answers to this single phrase, choiceless awareness. But don't cling to the words. Experience it. Because it is only experience that liberates.
Friends, hope you enjoyed the elaboration given by Osho to the answers of Bodhidharma to his disciples. World watches three types of conversation. Two people who had not been realized, hence in deep sleep, dreaming. When they involved in conversation, none would listen, hence full of misunderstanding that led to fighting. When a realized Buddha speaks to unrealized, sleeping disciple, there is a possibility of waking him up. Buddha speaks from the peaks while the listener, though sleeping in a deep dark valley, may still attempt to wake up. The third possibility is of conversation between two realized Buddhas. As both had witnessed the same truth, they remain in silence when they meet. Now, one such sleeping disciple asks a question to Bodhidharma. The first question, what is right and what is wrong? Each religion interprets what are the do's and don'ts as per their scriptures, but all are sleeping, like we search for a wisdom to watch the sky, like we search for a window to watch the sky. One need to find the right and wrong through their own insight. Though nobody knows what is right and what is wrong, no one accepts their ignorance. One who accepts his ignorance will put his first step in finding the truth. Whatever Buddha says comes from the origin of existence, but the listener has many conditions and filters and destroy the truth. Empty yourself and be like a child so that knowing can start. Bodhidharma answers, discrimination with no mind is right, discrimination with mind is wrong. This looks little absurd, as discrimination is the habit of mind. Hence, every master encourages inner transformation. Instead of acts of an individual, they give importance to consciousness and insights. Now, consciousness do not belong to any religion. It is like a mirror that just reflects everything as is. Hence, right and wrong do not lie with your acts. It depends on your decisions, whether taken with full consciousness in a no-mind state. When one transcends right and wrong, he is truly right. In a sutra, it says, when one dwells on the right road, he does not discriminate. This is right, this is wrong. The second question, what is a sagacious student and what is a dull student? Bodhidharma answers, a sagacious student does not depend on his teacher's words but uses his own experience to find the truth. A dull student depends on coming to a gradual understanding through his teacher's word. A teacher has two kinds of students. One hears the teacher's words without clinging to the material nor to the immaterial, without attaching to form or to non-form, without thinking of animate objects or inanimate objects. This is the sagacious student. The other, who is avid for understanding, accumulates meanings and mixes good and bad, is the dull student. The sagacious student understands instantly. He does not raise inferior mind when he hears the teaching, nor does he follow the sage's mind. He transcends both wisdom and ignorance. Even though one hears the teaching and does not cling to worldly desires, does not love Buddha or the true path, if when he has to select one out of two, he selects quietness from confusion, wisdom from ignorance, inactivity from activity, and clings to one or the other of these, then he is a dull student. If one transcends both wisdom and ignorance, has no greed for the teaching, does not live in right recollectedness, does not rise right thinking, and does not have aspirations to be Pratyeka-Buddha, Pratyeka-Buddha or a Bodhisattva, then he is a sagacious student. Friends, please listen to the discourse again to get a better understanding. Jai Osho, Jai Jai Osho.